Two crucial signs a man is fully committed to you and he's serious. And you're going to want to stick around for this because this is crucial. This is critical. You have to hear what I'm about to share. Now, I have a quote that I have, and the quote goes like this. They're either part of your growth or part of your future. And what I mean to say is many of you have experienced a number of significant relationships, and yet you still find yourself out in the dating marketplace. And we can oftentimes look at those previous relationships as failures. And yet, if you actually take a moment to look back at some of those relationships from the vantage point of what positive things did I learn about myself in each experience? How did I heal a wound in my life through each experience? What was good about each experience? And what am I most grateful for? And lastly, am I still stuck on a previous relationship? See, sadly, we've experienced so many human beings, particularly in midlife, and the demographic I speak to is midlife, which is after baby making years and before retirement. And a significant percentage of people in this age demographic have probably had 1, 2, or 3 significant relationships. And after going through these experiences, you might find yourself gun shy. You might be afraid to put yourself out there. You might even have walls up, which so many people do. And yet deep down, men and women alike yearn to be loved. They yearn to give love and to receive love. I know you heard me say give love, and you're probably thinking, I don't know any men that want to give love. Guess what? There are plenty of good men out there that want to receive love and give love. And there are plenty of men out there that are fully capable of commitment. Sometimes you're swiping left on those guys and you're swiping right on the guys. And I'm sorry to laugh, but it almost reminds me of the saying when I believe this woman there's a flood in the town she's in, and this man in a rowboat comes up to her and she says, oh, I'm going to leave it up to God to rescue me. And the man in the rowboat leaves, and the flood starts increasing. And now she has to climb to the balcony of her home. And this power boat comes up and says, lady, I'm here to rescue. And she said, no, God will save me. And then she climbs to the roof. And a helicopter comes down with a ladder, says, lady, let me save you. And she goes, don't worry, God will save me. Well, sure enough, the flood takes her over. She's wiped out. She's up at the pearly gates and says to God, why didn't you save me? Why didn't you give me a sign? And he says, I delivered a boat. I delivered a power boat. And I delivered a helicopter. Why weren't you paying attention? Sometimes, believe it or not, we swipe right from that, swipe left, or we dismiss somebody who could be perfect for us. I know that's hard to accept, but I do believe this happens frequently. So I want to share with you where this topic was birthed, 2 crucial signs a man is fully committed to you and serious. These are the men who are deeply in love with you. And I actually read a post on Facebook that I want to share with you right now. I don't know if you can see it. It says, when a man genuinely loves you. And it was posted on Zachary Fisher's page 5 days ago. So it would have been October 5th, 2024. And I'm going to skim through it because it's very long. But he says, when a man genuinely, and this is not my 2 crucial signs. This is what was missing in this, okay? He says, when a man genuinely loves you, he begins to talk about a future with you. That's number 1. Your needs come first. He even says research has proven that on an average, men tend to be more selfish than women. Interesting. So when a man actually gives to you, it's a reflection of him being genuinely in love with you. He goes on to say, he is happy when you are happy. I do believe that. Number 4, you are beginning to fall in love with him. Okay. He has become more comfortable around you. That's true. His language morphs from I to we. Certainly those that are in that space start shifting from an I to a we. He's putting much more efforts into the relationship. And he says, this is all backed by scientific research. He looks at life from the bright side. Yeah, I can say when you're in a happy relationship, you do feel a little bit better. Life is better with company oh my God, Brad Pitt and who's the guy that plays the side of George Clooney said it in the movie Up in the Air. Life is better with company. Taking the extra care to be a gentleman around you, like opening car doors and that sort of thing. He's present every time you want to talk to him. He makes time to talk to you. The sex has gone beyond just the physical. He's no longer afraid of eye contact. I thought that was rather weird. He's no longer afraid of eye contact. Maybe it's because when you have eye contact, you have to be more present. His attention is constantly on you. You have met the important people in his life. That's most likely true. He's interested in your life. Jealousy is a healthy dose. I'm not sure I agree with that. But anyway, so I just shared with you what this post said, and let me tell you what I shared in response. I said, everything you shared can mimic love bombing. Bump, bump, bump. Yes, everything that's shared can mimic love bombing. You see, it's nice to think of love in the romantic sense. It's nice to post things like this, that men are just so chivalrous. And when they love you, they will just magically be the most wonderful human beings on the planet. It takes in no consideration of the humanness of a person. Okay? The reality is most human beings are rather, I'm going to use the word flawed, but in the sense of we're not perfect. We get defensive sometimes. Sometimes we gaslight. Sometimes we get dismissive. Sometimes we stonewall. Sometimes, did I say defensive? We get defensive. Sometimes we criticize. Sometimes we even have contempt. A human being is not a continuum of perfect. And when I read posts like that, it sets men up for failure. And quite frankly, it sets women up for failure as well, because these people don't exist. Or let me reframe that. The perfect person doesn't exist. Now, truthfully, most men are good guys, ladies. Most men are good guys. Just most men are bad daters. And if you find yourself in the dating marketplace thinking all men are bad, guess what? You will only see all bad men. I'm here to invite you to change the narrative. I'm here to invite you to start to share a different rhetoric going forward. And what is that rhetoric? I want every one of you from today forward saying, finding my soulmate is easy. Finding my life partner is easy. You're either part of the growth or you're part of the future. And why I brought that up earlier is either they're part of your experience or they're going to be part of your future. You know what's interesting? Do you know that 65% of all new relationships happening today happen through an online connection? Isn't that fascinating? 30, 40 years ago, the workplace and friends were the number one and number two places, work and friends 40 years ago. There used to be church. There used to be family. There was bars back in the 80s, nightclubs, that sort of thing. All of those have declined dramatically, and online dating has risen to the top. And what's happened is we no longer have a natural learning curve to get to know someone. Someone write this down. We no longer have a natural learning curve to get to know someone because of these devices. We have to make quick decisions. We almost have a need for an accelerated learning curve. And chemistry, sadly, has become the primary indicator, the false indicator of relationship success. That's right, chemistry. And what I'm here to say is, because of this incubator of online dating, we've had to accelerate, and we don't actually spend enough time to getting to know someone. This is what I teach in my private coaching. You see the link right here, jonathanasley.com/coaching. I teach you discernment. I teach you vetting skills. And there's links below to learn more about how I can help you, because this is the critically important question. to be asking yourself if a man is fully capable of commitment and he's serious. First off, I want to share with you this. His desire, his capacity, and his vision for a relationship exceeds the fear and pain he's experienced in his past. Let me repeat that. His desire, his capability or capacity and vision exceeds the past. In a previous video, I said to you, and someone write this down, is he committed to commitment? I even did a short video on this this morning. Is he committed to commitment? You see, casual relationships, which many of you find yourselves in, have no standards whatsoever. They have no standards. In fact, when you're in a casual relationship, you'll accept almost anything because there's no path, there's no definition, there's no roadmap to the future. And if you're not covering these two critical things as part of the discussion, you are going to find yourself in those experiences where a man is part of your past instead of part of your future. So what are these two critical things? First and foremost, he's there for you during crises or big tasks. I'm going to put them together. I could put these separately, but he's there for you during a crisis in your life or you have a big task in your life. Let me give you an example. So some years ago, shortly after my son passed away, many of you know I lost a child. There's a picture of Connor right there. I met a woman who also lost her son about 6 months after I did. We were connected to one another. And the day she lost her son, the day she found out about it, she was driving home and she was on a date. She'd just been dating a man for a month. And the policeman came to her car and she, uncertain of what's going on. And he was sitting, I think she was sitting in the passenger seat. He had driven her. And the policeman takes her aside and shares what happened. And in that moment, he did what he could to be a support person. He held space for her. And throughout this experience, he kept holding space for her. And eventually, they fell in love, and they actually got married 2 years later. He was there for her during a crisis. Now, some might argue they bonded during this crisis. I don't believe so. But it could be that's the case. But you know what? He held space 30 days into the relationship. That's pretty amazing. That's a sign. Certainly, that's a man who, was he in love with her at that moment? No. But he was certainly committed to commitment. Another thing is maybe you're experiencing a big task in your life. Maybe you're moving right now and you just began dating someone. Maybe you've been dating for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year. A man who is this sign, if he genuinely assists you in helping you in your life. Now, many men are acts of service people. So this in and of itself isn't necessarily a definitive sign. That's why I put crises and big tasks together. But certainly when someone is there for you, when you have a big task in your life, a big situation, he's there to support you. And I think that's a critical sign when a man is there for crisis and big tasks. But the most important sign you're ever going to witness, every one of you who finds yourself in a relationship, this is the most crucial, most critical sign. And that is, number 2, he doesn't quit when there's conflict. He doesn't quit when there's conflict. Folks, if you have not read the book 8 Dates by Drs. John and Julie Gottman, I highly recommend you read this. This is a book to establish a stronger connection with a human being, particularly in the early stage of dating. But chapter 4 is chapter 4? No, chapter 2, the second chapter, agreeing to disagreeing, addressing conflicts. Folks, it seems to me we have this circular dating going on. We have this disposable dating going on. We have this unintentional form of dating. We have this paradox of choice going on, that the minute we have conflict with someone, they're gone. See, we've lost the capacity to commit to commitment. And because of that, we find so many people not finding themselves in their third, their fourth, the fifth relationship in midlife. Does anyone remember the movie? I think it was Sleepless in Seattle. And in the movie Sleepless in Seattle, there's a scene where Tom Hanks is talking to his actual real wife, Rita Wilson, and his friend made a comment. I believe he said something like, you have as a person in your 40s, you have a greater chance to be killed by a terrorist than finding love. See, that's not the case anymore because of online dating. I said earlier, 65% of relationships happen online. Do you realize that we have now reached an era where being 40, 50, or 60 is not a death sentence to a relationship? And I can guarantee you, back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and even 90s, if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, your chances of finding love were incredibly slim. Now your odds have increased because of online dating, but also, I get it, there's a lot of crap and junk that goes with online dating as well. But look, we now have even a show called The Golden Bachelor and The Golden Bachelorette, people in their 60s that are finding love or at least making an attempt in this. And I just want you to know that good men exist. I'm inviting you all to step into your power, to step into your self-love. By the way, what's this book called? What the heck is self-love anyway? My book. It's Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work. There's a link below to get a copy of it. Folks, when you step into your power, I want to invite you all to believe now that it is easy to attract a soulmate. Let go of the worry. Let God, universe, spirit guide you to the right person, whether it's online or a different medium. Because those people that are committed to commitment exist. I'm inviting you all to become a magnetic attractor to make that happen. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos as well. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's a link to get all the books I recommend. There's a link to even follow me on Instagram, all listed below. And by the way, if you do click the subscribe button for YouTube, make sure you do it on the top of your phone as well. All right, those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, I want you to write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All the money, there's a little $ in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. That's a picture of him right there. He's my son who passed away over 6 years ago now. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. And our goal tonight is $50. I saw there was a question here. Stacy posted, I don't know about 60% online success. Sorry, but I don't believe that. No, 60% or more of all new couples meet online. I didn't say success. I would venture to say the actual success rate is less than 20%. I'm just going to be blunt. It's not that great. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot higher than doing nothing, because guess what? It is now taken over the majority of how people meet for the first time is online dating. So yes, I don't agree. I would agree. It's not a 60% success rate, probably less than 20%, but 60% of couples today are meeting in this fashion. Beach Lover says, I can't believe the number of quality men on the Golden Bachelorette. Yeah, you know what? By the way, I am so grateful that these 24 men, excluding Gil, because it turns out he has a restraining order, it just goes to show you there is no perfect system. These 24 men were really good guys. You know, I mean, it just goes to show you, folks, when you hold in your heart that good men exist, when you hold in your heart most men are good guys, they're just bad daters, you can start seeing the gems that are hiding in the haystack, so to speak. RM Bell goes, I watched The Golden Bachelorette last night and the men are great. The cutest thing was how much they loved one another. Yeah, these are a great group of guys. Now, by the way, did you notice I did an episode a few weeks ago and I had my top 4 as Chuck, Guy, Jordan, and Pasquale and Mark. I should say my top 5. You know what my gut tells me? I don't think Mark's going to make it. She's been leaning towards Chuck. She's been leaning towards Pascal, which I don't know about him. She's been leaning towards Guy. You know, Guy's I originally said, you know, he was kind of the quintessential player look. But then when you heard him speak to Charles about navigating the loss of his wife, I think the character of Guy came out. But you know what? Jordan, I don't know. I mean, she picked him for the one-on-one date last night. I don't think he's going to go. He'll probably go to the top 4. I think Chuck, by the way, now Chuck had to go, Chuck, whatever. God, it's so funny. There's Gary, Jerry, Chuck. I think Chuck full of nuts. I think, you know, he had to leave because his mother passed away. And I was like, is he gone just like Joan was gone? I started to think about that, but he did come back. My gut is now he's the front runner. Who agrees with me that Chuck is the front runner? It's great to have a guy's name that's another mess up like Gary or Jerry. All right. Lee is in the house. Do you think that the best way to combine household is for each to sell their homes and buy a new home together? Does that foster better success? You know, I wouldn't sell your homes. I would rent your homes out and turn them into rentals. That's what I would do. But I do agree. And maybe just temporarily moving into a residence that's like an apartment or something like that. Rent it, you know, like an apartment or a condo for a couple years. But I do believe in, instead of melding into someone else's life, I do believe in blending each other's lives from a brand new vantage point. Yes, I do think that's probably the best way. But I would rent my homes out and then take advantage of appreciation of assets. Okay. And given how much rentals go for, you probably would make out really good. Wanda says, why would my male buddy stop talking to me? Because I'm in a relationship. It's always been buddies for 2 years. He never dates at all. He's not interested in dating. So why stop talking? How does your current boyfriend feel about this male buddy? I'd be curious to know the answer to that question. But he probably wants to give you a space to be in your relationship. Why did he cut communication? Maybe he's jealous. Maybe he's intimidated. By the way, why haven't you asked him? And if you did, what was his response? Ladies, take off the duct tape and ask. You don't need to ask me this one. You ask him. Ask me the tougher questions. RM Bell says, Chuck was all in. LOL. But is it a red flag when a man says, I'm crazy about you? You know, this particular environment curates a lot of intensity in a short period of time. I just think I think everybody in Golden Bachelor, Golden Bachelorette, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette experience lust or limerence. That's what they're experiencing. And look what happened. Gary and Teresa experienced limerence and it didn't last. By the way, what they should do is get engaged and be engaged for a year or 2. By the way, you know what occurs to me? We have a really fucked up dating system. I'm going to give you something I was thinking about in the shower just now. Okay. Dating, okay, when you meet someone, we call that a date. And usually we date for a long period of time and then, or a period of time, and it turns into a relationship. But the relationship is vague. In many cases, we've noticed most people are in casual relationships. And remember I said earlier, standards, there's no standards in a casual relationship because there's no real seriousness to it. I have a new theory. You go straight from the minute two people like each other, they go to courting. What courting means is two people committed to commitment and they're exploring a significant relationship together. And then they should get engaged right after that. Now, let me tell you why. Okay, you probably don't agree with me. These days, people get engaged and all they do is focus on the marriage. Okay, they focus on the wedding. Stop that. Get engaged, which means we're seriously committed to each other, and we give each other 2 years to decide, or at least a year to decide if it makes sense to move forward and not and move on. And by the way, you give the cheapest engagement ring, but the engagement is the commitment to commitment. The courting is okay. When you're in a space where you are committed to commitment, you start agreeing to exploring a serious relationship. That's what I'm talking about in courting. Okay. The minute you've spent enough time going, hey, I think we have something big here, then get engaged. And what that means is you're declaring to everybody, we are committed to commitment. Doesn't mean you have to get married. Then you decide after 1 or 2 years whether or not it makes sense to get married. All right, I put it out there. It's just a hypothesis. We'll see what happens in the YouTube universe about what I just shared, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this new protocol I'm inviting everyone. And by the way, I don't mean sharing assets or anything. You wait for me, you don't even have to get married. You can have a spiritual marriage. But here's the thing. The idea of engagement was we're going to really decide if we're a good fit for one another. I think we should do that sooner rather than later. Just a hypothesis I have. Patricia says, I'm dating a guy who believes that omitting info isn't the same as lying. Thoughts? Well, I have mixed feelings because someone might ask me a question and I don't feel safe enough to answer them. I don't feel enough trust has been built to answer it. So if I omit something because I'm not prepared to be that vulnerable, is that the same as lying? I guess it depends on the motivation for omitting. If the motivation is based on some level of manipulation, then I would say that that is a form of lying. If the omitting is because you're not ready to be vulnerable with someone, I think that's very valid. I don't consider that lying. I just think that's waiting for trust to be built. What are your thoughts on what I just shared? Brown Kines says, thinking about in the shower, RN, TMI. What is RN? Regina says, I agree with waiting a year to get married after engagement. Yeah. Thereabouts. Hey, so I'm watching a new show on Netflix called Nobody Wants This. Now, let me tell you where I got the motivation. Oh, right now is what RN means, where I got the motivation to watch this. Esther Perel did a post about literally what I was talking about earlier about the Sleepless in Seattle, that it used to be 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, it was a death sentence to be in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, or 70s, because your chances of finding love were very slim. Well, this is the story about two people that meet. They're in their mid 40s or 44, and they meet at a party. The man is he's a rabbi in training, and she has a podcast about sex. And so what's fascinating about this show is it gets into the intricacies of the natural learning curve of dating. Remember I shared earlier, there was a natural learning curve to getting to know someone versus the accelerated learning curve that we have today. I think it's a great story. Has anyone seen it? It's called Nobody Wants This. Has anyone seen it? There's 10 episodes. They're 25 minutes each. I binge watched it in 4.5 hours or 4 hours, 4.5 hours. I just got addicted to it. But it's a great illustration of how the learning curve is different when you meet organically and you have a social circle connected to one another versus the online dating where we are meeting total strangers for the most part. Hey, how about some love for the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund? There's a little $ in the chat box. If 20 of you just donated $2.50, we could get to our goal of $50 tonight. I would appreciate some love for the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. Life Over 50, Portugal says, yes, I've seen it. I'm glad to. Lynn says, yes, I've watched it. Very cute movie. Hey, folks. You know what? I'm going to cut out a little early tonight. Oh, mainly because my window is out. Do you see that light? Oh, I guess an angel walked in. Maybe that was my son, Connor, that just walked in. Did you see that light? There it is again. I think this would be a great place to wrap up. Regina said, did you see my question? No, I did not. Let me. Beach Lover. This show you're talking about is Netflix. The name of it again. Nobody Wants This. Regina, I'm going to look again to see. Okay, this will be our last question of the night because I'm going to cut out early. Oops. Why men in their 50s still lying and saying they love you to get sex? Because it works. It works. I mean, if it didn't work, nobody would say it. Shows you how dysfunctional our current dating marketplace is. Now, I would say it's like guys who send dick pics. You know, does that work? Yeah, very infrequently. But they believe that it works. I mean, a lot of times it does work, but it's interesting how you can manipulate a person through love bombing. Folks, Google the article love bombing. It's amazing how gullible human beings are, because when we're in a state of lust and limerence, we believe, because we have this chemical reaction with another person, we believe it's real with strangers. I'm not making this up. Okay. I'm just sharing with you what I've observed. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap up tonight a little bit early. We have a kind of a bashful group. Did you find value in what I shared? If you did, post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. Also, make sure you do it on your phone as well. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. By the way, that light keeps shining. I guess Connor really is saying hi a lot today. There's links below to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, where you can have direct access to me on a regular basis. There's links to get the books I recommend. And don't forget to get the book, 8 Dates by Doctors John and Julie Gottman. Highly recommend it. Also, get the links to my dating vows and follow me on Instagram as well. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Merrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love, if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Marilyn says, love your sweater. Looks good on you. Nobody wants this. Yes, that light is wild. Definitely split spirit related. It's Connor in the house. I think so, Connor. I want to thank Natties and R and Bell and Ellie and Joe Daisy and Debbie, if you're watching the replay, and R and Lynn and Regina and Beach Lover and Marilyn, Lynn, Sherry, Wanda. Did I say Regina? Life Over 50 in Portugal, Gigi, Eve, Rose, Stacy. Folks, thanks for watching. Donate to the Connor Asley Fund before you wrap up. It's raining great men over here. Just remember, it's raining great men. It's raining great men. It's raining great men. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye now. Bye.